I've been asked to make this video in relation to another video I made about Bitcoin, and I'll leave the link to that video under this video so you can have a look at the Facebook post I shared, which was a bit like a note really. It was a comment about Bitcoin and explaining how Bitcoin initially was set up to map the human genome, and because of the immense and the complexity and the immense computer power needed to solve these logarithms, which do come in blockchain. So you know, there's one bit of the logarithm solved, and then there's another bit and another bit, and that's why each Bitcoin gradually gets longer and longer and longer and longer. Now, to show you the evidence of this, because I did write an article about it when I first discovered it, and the only reason why I looked into it, and it was quite a few years ago now, before Bitcoin had become big news as it were, hardly anybody knew about it, and a friend of mine who has a very powerful computer had been asked to take part in mining Bitcoins, which is something that you know your computer does in the background, and it just means, you know, you can leave your computer on and it'll just work away solving this logarithm, and eventually, you know, it'll have a quarter of a Bitcoin and a half, and until it gets a full Bitcoin, and then you're left with the blockchain number, which can be quite large, and actually it will get larger and larger. So it's a bit like what the space agency have done for people to identify galaxies. You know, they put it out to the public to use their computers to do it. Or SETI did the same thing, didn't they, for finding signals from space and stuff. And so what they've done is they've basically farmed the work out. They're taking advantage of the global computer network that's available from the public, and so the Bitcoin is the reward that the person gets for employing their computer energy, their electricity and power to solving this thing. So the first thing that people need to realise is that whatever this system gives us back for our labour and our energy, okay, is only a fraction actually of what they earn from it in either power or profits. Okay, so I was asked to look into it. I knew absolutely nothing about Bitcoin, and I had no opinion on it whatsoever. I didn't know if it was good or bad. I just had absolutely no opinion, and so I approached the research with an absolutely open mind on the issue, and what I discovered really alarmed me. I was very concerned that there's only there's a limit of 21 million coins to be produced, and that the last one's set to be produced in 2045, and it's going to get harder and harder and harder to mine each new Bitcoin, because the blockchain sequence just gets longer and longer and longer and longer, to the point where, you know, you'd need a whole hard drive to store the Bitcoin, or it'll become impossible to store the Bitcoins in your home computer, and it will eventually mean that there's going to have to be Bitcoin banks that are cyber secure, because people are losing their Bitcoins. They are being robbed by hackers. You know, there's hackers out there. They're getting into people's accounts on their computers and just stealing their Bitcoin wallet, because, you know, they're giving people a Bitcoin wallet now. I haven't really researched into these wallets. You know, probably you have to buy them as well, and it all gets to be very, very expensive. And actually, because there's only 21 million to be produced, then that would mean that everybody would be working for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a Bitcoin. And I make the point, well, how are you going to spend it unless your Bitcoin's made into credits or it's actually materialised? So then what, we're in the same situation as we are now with money, and but this time, instead of it being based on something like gold, you know, well, if gold was the golden crucifix on the brow of humanity, of the workforce, then Bitcoin is the sledgehammer. Okay, and that is how bad it is. And what concerned me was that people are being offered profits as an incentive to employ their computers to provide who with knowledge and therefore power over our very genetic material. So you're talking about power over our DNA that's been written by the universe, okay? The universe wrote that DNA. And our own planet, you know, because life has adapted to live on our own planet. And what concerns me is the kind of consciousness that then is controlling that. Sorry for the interruption there. I've forgotten where I was now, but anyway, basically that was my concern, that it is an even more limited resource than gold, and it will mean that people's money is ultimately controlled by a bank, because, you know, at the moment you have to store your Bitcoin in a Bitcoin wallet, and it's very easy for hackers to get on people's computers, look for a Bitcoin wallet, steal the wallet or the contents of it, and, you know, that is what's happening. So don't think for 1 minute that this Bitcoin is going to get rid of the banks, and the people with the most money in this world are the ones that can invest in Bitcoin. Now, my main concern is witnessing how rapidly each Bitcoin has increased in value. So, you know, it went up to what suddenly was up to $800, and then it went up to over 1,000, and what now they're saying it's going to be 100,000 a Bitcoin, which obviously it was. That fits in exactly of what I wrote. It fits in exactly with my research, that eventually, you know, a fraction of 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 a Bitcoin will be a week's wage, okay? If we're being paid in Bitcoin. And those fractions will have to be reduced to credits, won't they? In order for you to spend them. So, yeah, you'll be using your card, chip and pin, or swipe, and it'll be exactly the same system, but actually even more highly controlled, and with people being robbed even more. And what we're dealing with basically here, Bitcoin is a numbers racket, okay? It is a numbers racket. That is what we're dealing with, a numbers racket that is giving power to people who, you know, who form part of this new world order consciousness, and they are crazy people. You know, they're the kind of people that will protect child abusers. And we've listened to Ronald, we've already listened to Ronald Bernard, who has explained in no uncertain terms about what is going on at the top levels of finance. And he talks about Satanism stroke sadism, because that's what it is, and ritual murder of children. Okay, that's the kind of consciousness controlling the money supply already. And anybody who thinks for 1 minute that those people will not be investing in Bitcoin, you are really living on cloud cuckoo land. Because one of the reasons why Bitcoin has been suddenly exploded and become so popular is because it's a perfect way to launder money. Okay? It's a perfect way to launder illicit profits. So, you know, drug dealing, child trafficking, buying and selling of child pornography, it can all be done through Bitcoin, and it's untraceable. So that is the other concern, that that the popularity of this, or rather the increase in its value, is being created by criminals who are investing in Bitcoin as a means of money laundering. And then because those criminals are investing in Bitcoin to launder their illicit profits, so they themselves are then increasing the value of Bitcoin. So its value, honestly, it's just so corrupt. It's really incredible. And yes, people who bought a Bitcoin a few years ago will be very happy to find, oh, I've made £100,000. Bitcoin is fantastic. Okay, well, the people who are fracking think fracking is fantastic. The people who've invested in that, who are getting money from it, they think it's fantastic. Do we think it's fantastic? No. People investing in nuclear power are getting lots of money back for their investments into nuclear power. They think nuclear power's fantastic. Do we think it's fantastic? Big Pharma is getting, you know, how many billions for selling people, what, products, medical products that kill people, okay? Or have really terrible side effects. Well, they're all very happy with the big Pharma. Everybody making money in that. They're very happy with Big Pharma. Are we very happy with it? There's lots and lots of things in this world that make money. Prostitution makes money. Child trafficking makes money. Are we happy with it? Oh no, when it comes to child trafficking, no, most people would say no, we're not happy about people making money in that. But people are making money in it. It's a multi-billion dollar global industry, okay? Child abuse. So, a multi-billion dollar global industry, imagine that. And suddenly, well, where are they going to keep their illicit profits? At the moment, they're having to set up fake businesses and do it all through, you know, a false address. Like, I'll leave you Gordon Bowden's video underneath this link, where he explains how there's hundreds of companies all registered at one address in London on Finchley Road. That's what? A house. Okay? So now they don't have to do that, do they? They don't have to set up a fake company and blah blah blah. Instead, they can just invest it in Bitcoin. Okay, so that is something else for people to think about. What are you investing in here? What are you selling? And as I explained in my because, well, what happened after I'd done my research, because as I said, this friend asked me to investigate it. I did, with an open mind, and I was so shocked that I shared my results of my research. I put it all into an article, which I then published on a site called Spiritual Networks. Now, not long after I'd published that, Spiritual Networks found some spurious excuse for, well, just deleting my entire account. So, you know, 64 articles that I'd written were just completely wiped away. And by the time they'd done that, you know, I changed computers, got new hard drives, blah blah blah. So, you know, I'm having to go through old hard drives now to have a look for the original article I wrote with all its links in, because I can't find those links now on Google. So I'm sharing this here, which is inviting people to share, to get, well, Genecoin, but it is Bitcoin, okay? Most people think of Bitcoin as a currency, but that is only one use of its protocol and network. Now, that is a very misleading statement, because the very fact that Bitcoin is a currency is the fact that it is based on Bitcoin blockchain logarithms, okay? That is what it is based on. And those logarithms provide knowledge equals power to the people who are providing the Bitcoin. And as I say, understand, you know it for a fact, whatever you do in this world, by way of a job for whoever, you are only going to get a fraction of the value of what your labour has actually produced. Okay, that is the way the world works. The people controlling Bitcoin, it's the same mentality, and it will be the same. You know, people will be struggling even more. Like I say, if gold is the crucifix on the brow of humanity, then Bitcoin is the sledgehammer. So this is inviting people to get their personal DNA. So basically what makes them different from other people. So, you know, they're mapping the human genome. And again here, another very misleading statement. Isn't it? Isn't a genome very large? It can be, yes. Actually, it is. A genome is very, very large. We offer various levels of service. A human genome can contain up to 3 gigabytes of data if encoded inefficiently. Okay, if encoded inefficiently. Understand that. Understand it. If encoded inefficiently. We use 2 bits per base, which brings a full genome to 750 megabytes. So that is very inefficiently then, isn't it? It's very inefficiently encoded. So what are you getting? What are you getting? A very inefficiently encoded genome. Most users will only need to store the data that makes them unique from other humans and life forms. Oh gosh, which brings the file down drastically. And life forms, alright, so you get to store a bit of what proves that you're not a frog. We also offer various levels of sequencing depth depending on the interest of our users. Can my data remain private? You'll likely want your genome encrypting before uploading it onto the Bitcoin network. Okay, how do I retrieve? You know, it's like, look at this. You'll be able to set up advanced algorithmic contracts that initiate transfer and decryption of your genome or condition of your choosing. It's what if another cryptocurrency replaces Bitcoin? You know, I mean, there's a lot of them set up now, cryptocurrencies, but again, they're all based on the same thing, which is solving logarithms, and a lot of those will become obsolete, believe you me. Bitcoin will be the lead of it. And can my genome be traded as currency? Once you're in Genecoin, we recommend that you use your genome as seed data to create your own altcoin. Services will soon let people create their own alternative cryptocurrencies with a click of a mouse. I mean, come on. So basically, yeah, now they're inviting people. Before they were inviting people to use their computers and get the reward of a Bitcoin for solving a part of the logarithms to map the human genome. Okay, now they're asking people to directly give their own DNA and basically monetize it. So what is that? You know, what is that? It is inviting. It is directly inviting humanity to directly agree to selling our genetic information to who? Okay, who? The powers that control this world. Okay, so you know, what is this? Okay, so you know, here we go. Mapping more genomes will create a healthcare big data revolution. Well, you know, I'm not saying that it isn't, that I'm not criticising the science of checking out our DNA and things like this, okay, the genetic sciences, because obviously it can help us, can't it? But the problem is, as I say, it's the consciousness, because for certain knowledge to be of any use to us, really, of any true value, then what is needed is a lawful interpretation of that knowledge. That is what is needed, okay? So, you know, the law, I'm promoting universal law of abundance in compassion, which upholds human rights, women's rights, children's rights, animal rights, plant rights. It basically works on the condition of that everybody lives with respect, that they live with respect for themselves and other people, other creatures, other life on our planet. That is the basic foundation from which we operate. Okay, we do our work in a respectful, compassionate way. Okay, now the thing is that can we really trust this world to do things in a respectful, compassionate way when this is on the horizon? Okay, now for people who think, oh, this is a hoax, well, you know, although this article was published in 2017, actually they had developed, this was from what, 2014, 2015, because I shared it, where Japanese scientists had gestated a goat in an artificial womb. Okay, and they are, well, we know how the technology increases in leaps and bounds, and so by, you know, 2017, this is what is now being like proposed. Okay, a baby incubator that you feed. There's a video. It shows you how to feed the baby and the fetus, so you can grow an incubator in your home. So now when we get back to mapping the human genome, okay, so imagine we have this lawless consciousness ruling us that does not abide by universal law. It follows Luciferian law of might equals right to do as thy will. So the bigger, more powerful, richer you are, the more freedom you will have to do whatever you want. Okay, and it doesn't matter what the majority think, because that law is not a democratic law. It is totally undemocratic. It actually relies on a non-democracy. So do I really have to spell it out, the dangers? Do I have to spell out the dangers here? That while people are busy enjoying the massive profits that they've made out of Bitcoin or whatever they've made from that, okay, or investing in that to launder their money. So while people are busy doing that in their little this mad world governed by its Luciferian law, they have the power to grow human babies in labs and mess about, experiment on their DNA. So, you know, they do a bit of like genetic manipulation of this egg cell, say, and then fertilise it with the sperm in vitro, you know, and then put it in the baby incubator to see what's going to come out. So how do we know that that is not going on right now in secret corporate labs? How do we know that? Are we likely to get to a point where big corporations can actually farm humans, grow them and own them from birth? This is a very, 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 very serious issue, because we are talking about an existential threat here. And again, I refer to Jesus, who said new bottles must be made for new wine. So this knowledge of our DNA, okay, the secrets of unlocking the secrets of our DNA, this is new knowledge. And the bottles that we have at the moment are unfit for that new knowledge, okay, because what we need is a generation raised under the beneficence of universal law, where people have a strengthened natural connection to the humanity that this society we live in now systematically cuts, okay, and you know, it is a very, very, very serious issue, and that is why I'm against Bitcoin, because I feel it doesn't give people more power and control. It will do nothing at all to affect the people who are already rich and wealthy today, because already they're selling their gold to buy Bitcoins now. But the other important point that I wanted to make is that this Bitcoin stuff is actually already now sucking up huge amounts of money out of society. Okay, so money that otherwise would be floating around within our global economy among the general public is being sucked out into this numbers racket. So that's even less money for us, while Bitcoin gets shored up with its ridiculous valuations. Okay, that means even more poverty for the people on the ground. Understand this. Understand it. It has been my problem with, you know, an inflated valuation of gold, because it means large amounts of money get sucked out of society, invested into this lump of metal that does absolutely nothing for us. It produces nothing. It's sitting in a vault. Okay? So that gold has stolen, the value of that gold has stolen off the children of today. Okay, and this Bitcoin, the value of the Bitcoin is stealing off the children of today. It's stealing off the workforce on what? A numbers racket. Okay, because that is what it is. Now, anybody investing in it, you need to think very, very seriously about what you are condoning here, and exactly what you are empowering. Okay, now I support the Bradbury pound. I support the Bank of Joy, and there are lots and lots of alternatives that people can put their money in. I've put forward that hemp really needs to be the foundation for our currency. It's a prolific and very valuable resource, and very, very highly productive, and hemp as a foundation for our finance, I think, would work very, very well indeed, and everybody would be enriched by it, and we would live happier, healthier lives, and live within a more lawful framework that then, you know, future generations should be able to have, will know what to do with the knowledge in a very humane way. You know, we won't get to the point where a factory's been set up somewhere to experiment, doing experiments on babies with like genetic material, and all these kind of things, which, you know, my concern is that the technology, so, you know, even our money is now going to be technologized, isn't it? Because that's what Bitcoin is. It is also a technology of money. It's like, you know, the machine itself is controlling our lives to the extent where the machine itself is actually about to devour our children. Okay, and just imagine, in a world full of paedophiles, and it is noticeable that it is the very top paedophiles who are actually shown to be the worst. Okay, the very richest, most powerful are shown to be the very worst paedophiles. So they can buy an incubator to grow their own baby. Is that what's going to happen? No, this consciousness is not fit. It is not fit to handle this technology. Okay? It is an unfit, lawless consciousness. So we need now to rise up, definitely, for our human rights. Forget Bitcoin. Please do not invest your money in that. Okay? Please look for alternatives. Look at Ronald Bernard's Bank of Joy. I'll leave the link to it under this video. Look at the Bradbury pound. Start supporting something real, something humane. Do you know anything about Bitcoin? Did you even know that it is based on mapping the human genome, and that other coins that are produced alternative, you know, similar to Bitcoin, this cryptocurrency as it's called, do you know that it is based on solving logarithms to empower, give even more knowledge and power to the people already controlling us according to their Luciferian law? This is a very, very serious issue, and this friend of mine now, H. Thomas Ackerman, you know, he shares it, and, you know, as I explain here, I'll just leave you this to have a look, and I've shared a video that I made there discussing this and sharing this comment as well, but you can read it yourself, pause the video and read this comment. But basically, you know, he is expressing the same concerns, and I was asked to make this video just to show people, you know, to provide a little bit more evidence that, you know, what I'm saying is true. And now they're asking people to personally provide their own personal DNA as well. Okay, so while they'll send you a kit, and all you'll get in return is what? Enough evidence to prove that you're not a frog, basically. That's all you'll get. That is what you will get. 750. You know, it can contain up to 3 gigabytes of data if encoded inefficiently. Okay, so, you know, be aware, be very, very aware. We need to wake up. I'm talking to humanity. I don't care what political party you're with, how much money you've got, whether you're rich, poor, what colour. We need, as a species now, because as I say, we are facing an existential threat. Okay, we are facing an existential threat. So now we need to wake up, wise up, and really start asking some very, very serious questions about this, because we need very, very strict regulations around this type of technology. And as I say, we are looking at now, well, women are basically obsolete, really, aren't they? In the sense, well, alright, yeah, they're needed to harvest their eggs. I mean, I'm not saying this is a completely bad thing, okay, for people who can't have children, but as I say, there needs to be strict regulations around it. There needs to be strict regulations around it, because this is a very, very serious issue now, and we need to consider the implications, and it is directly connected to Bitcoin, the concerns because of the genetic material that has now been decoded, and the things that these labs will be capable of doing. So, you know, that is why I'm alerting people, I'm asking people to get awake, get aware, and look for alternatives. As I say, I've promoted the Bank of Joy. Have a look in that. Have a look at the Bradbury pound. That's available in Britain. The Bank of Joy is based in the Netherlands. It's been set up by Mr. Ronald Bernard, whose video I'll share under this link. And you know, obviously in your own country, maybe there's some alternative there, or maybe you could set that up yourself. Okay, but we do need to start thinking now about the future, because because this Bitcoin, don't forget, it is coming while the global population is burdened with an unrepayable debt. Okay, so while this unrepayable debt hangs in the air above us all and every future generation, and we are talking about every future generation enslaved to paying this criminal debt, but meantime, Bitcoin suddenly worth what? $100,000? Why? What are we selling here? Because, you know, it is basically, we're selling our very DNA. So please think about it, and please research it yourself. Please speak out.